सारी साध संगत जी फतेह प्रवान करने जी। वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह। So first I'd like to start by congratulating the Sangat ji on the opening of Shepherd's Bush Gurdwara, Central Gurdwara in London. And this is a Gurdwara that's very close to my heart because I spent all of my youth and my teenage years growing up here in this Gurdwara. And so it's fantastic to see a new lease of life brought back, to see new members, new youth, and a new vision for the Gurdwara Sahib. And as we're coming to the end of the year and looking forward, looking ahead to new beginnings in the following new year that's about to join, and in the spirit of looking at the Gurdwara and going forward, I want to spend some time reflecting on ourselves, what it is that we want to see going forward. Every year, people make resolutions and they think about what they've done in their life so far. And in the following year, they hope that something will be different. So, in the next half an hour, I want us to look at what do you think will be different in your life. Take a moment to just process what is your life so far. What have you been doing all of these years so far that for some reason next year is going to be different? And this process of self-reflection is very important in life. In fact, our Guru recommends that every day we participate in this self-reflection. We listen to the Anand Sahib at the end of most Gurdwara programs and Kirtan programs. But if you have the opportunity, try to read the whole of the Anand Sahib. It is part of the 5 morning daily prayers that a Khalsa, a Sikh should do. And the Anand Sahib, written by the third Guru, Guru Amar Das Ji, talks about self-reflection. Guruji says, "E sarira merya is jag mein aake kya tud karam kamaya?" O body of mine, since coming into the world, what have you achieved? Guruji then repeats this line, "Ke karam kamaya tud sarira ja tu jag mein aaya." What have you done? What have you achieved? And these are the sorts of questions that we'll be going forward with in our life. We'll be thinking about what the new year is going to mean for us. So really the question is, what is your life? What is life? What is this opportunity that's been presented to you? And what is this opportunity that is slipping through our fingers every single day? Ask yourself a simple question. Why do I get out of bed every morning? What do I hope to achieve? And for each of us, it's going to be something different. Do you get out of bed to go to your work? Is it to get an education? Is it to look after your family? Is it to get your children ready for school? What do all of these things have in common? All of these are actions that you do with some desire that in the future they're going to return some fruit. You're going to be rewarded by doing these actions. There is a hope at the root of all of this, that there is a positive outcome at the end. And most of us live our lives every day in this way. We treat the world and we treat life as though life is a bag of treasures, and if we work hard enough, if we work smart enough, we can obtain some of those treasures for our life. And most of those treasures are material. We all want somewhere to live. We all want nice clothes to wear. We all want nice food to eat. We want a nice way to commute, to have a nice car. And then we want to enjoy things, music, entertainment. And the more resources that we can accumulate, we call this the quality of life. Isn't that what we all want? A good quality of life? Wealth, education, working to pay our bills, to survive, to live in comfort. At the root of all of this, what is it that we think we will get at the end of it? All of these things lead to a perception that by doing these things, there is happiness on the other side. So we've been taught that this is the normal method of happiness. To get up, to go to work, to have a living, to raise a family, to make sure that they get good education. This is the society's method of happiness. But my question to you is, what is the Guru's recommendation? What does the Guru want us to achieve in our life? Is it for us to have more material wealth? Is it for us to live in more comfort? I would suggest that the Guru offers us a different method of happiness. We're all very familiar with a line that gets thrown around quite loosely, either by Kathavachik sitting on stage or any sort of discussions around what is Gurmat, what is the purpose of life. And you will hear this one line, Pai Parapat Manuk De Huriya, Gobind Milan Ki E Teri Variya. This human body has been given to you. This is your opportunity to meet Gobind, the Lord of the universe. But what does that mean? What does it look like? Gobind Milan Ki E Teri Variya. This is your opportunity to meet the Lord of the universe. What does that mean? What does it look like to meet the Lord? What should we be doing different? What have we been doing all of these years that maybe next year will be something different? What is tomorrow going to bring where we will actually meet this? So we all live in hope. We all have hopes and desires for the new year. But Gurubani gives us a way to evolve our thinking. What Guruji wants is to change your perceptions about what your life is. So what is life? Let us take a few minutes to just take a step back and just look at life itself. Life is the one thing that unifies all of us. Life unifies everything in this universe. If there was a oneness that everyone could agree on, we would say it was life. You have life, I have life, animals have life, plants have life, and we all have the same life energy, the life force inside all of us. Everything springs out of this energy of life. Life causes the suns to burn brightly. Life causes the planets to revolve around them. And from life, from this force, from this energy, all sorts of weird and wonderful things are created. But they're created temporarily. And once they're done, they're recycled back into life to create something new. And although lots of things in life come and go, the bigger story of life continues. Just think about this. From life, everything is created. All sorts of things are created. But they're also destroyed again. We're starting with animals, insects, tiny little cells and microbes, to the biggest planets and oceans and mountains. Nothing lasts forever, including people like you and me. So you and me don't just pop out of nowhere. We don't just appear on this earth. We are part of an unending, long line of circumstances. The very reason that you're sitting here today The very reason that you're alive is because of your parents. The reason they were alive is because of their grandparents and their great-grandparents, and so on and so forth. So there is you thinking that your life is just from the moment you're born to the moment you die. But the reality is that life is this unending story. It started at the beginning of time itself, and life, the story of life, continues for billions of years in the future, long after we're gone. And somewhere in this huge story of life, you and me forgot the big picture, the main plot, the main character. And so what we started focusing on was this little story. From the moment this body was created, we think that's when the story starts. Let's call this a micro story, a tiny little blip, a tiny wave in an unending ocean of limitless time. And this little micro story, you know what we call it? Me. This is me. And what is Gurubani? What is Shabad? Shabad are the words of those people who realize that something has happened, that people have forgotten that they are not the story of their body. And the words of these great masters are our guide to remind us, to remember that this story isn't about me. There is a big story going on. And the reason they came to help every single one of us go back to this bigger understanding is because they realized the micro story called me feels incomplete. Every single one of us in our lives feels incomplete. That's why we get out of bed in the morning. We get out of bed in the morning because there's something more to be achieved, something greater. There is some hope that happiness is just around the corner. And within every single one of us there is a longing. There is a feeling for fulfillment. There is a hope that there is everlasting happiness out there somewhere. And we all want it. We all believe it's possible. We all know it's missing from our life. And people have tried various ways to get rid of that emptiness feeling, to find this happiness, to fill this void. But how do we do it? We do it with materialism, with hobbies, with these temporary pursuits. Most methods give us temporary happiness, and they don't get rid of this suffering. I'm very fortunate that I get to sit with my children almost on a daily basis, and we go through Hukamnamas before they go to school in the morning. And the one thing that keeps coming up from Guru Sahib's Hukamnama again and again is that you have put all of your hopes and desires on something that isn't going to last. And I remind my children a very simple example. I say, think about your last birthday. Do you remember what present you got? Most of the time, they can't even remember what present they got. Now I say, think about your next birthday. What present do you want to have? And then they've got lots of answers. And I say, remember that last birthday where you got what you were hoping for? Before that, you also had a big build-up of excitement. I really want this. I really want this to happen, because when I get this, that's where happiness is going to come. Happiness comes when I get this thing. But what happens, I ask them, you remember the present that you got last year? And if you don't remember, then I'll remind you. Now tell me, how much do you play with that toy? They said, Dad, we don't really play with that toy anymore. We got bored of that. I said, what happened to all of that big excitement that was that building up? That toy was going to give you all the happiness in the world. What happened to that? They say, it wore off. The happiness wore off. And then I tell my children, Sangatji, we do the same thing. We do exactly the same thing. Everyone is living with some future desire. And I'm sure some of us would have come to the Gurdwara today to do an ardas, so that next year, Maharaj, can you get this thing that I've been waiting for a long time? Next year, New Year is coming, please let me have that now. But what have you been doing all this time? What have you been achieving all this time that it hasn't given you that happiness? What else should you be doing? So Guru Sahib is giving us some message here. And Gurubani is showing us a path called Taran. If society has taught us a method of happiness, which is to follow the material world, Taran teaches us a different method of happiness. A new perspective on how we can understand life. A new way for looking for happiness. And the key message of Taran is that you can't find permanent happiness in temporary things. Anything that is temporary will only give you temporary happiness. What is the most temporary thing that you have on you right now? This body. This is also temporary. These thoughts, these are also temporary. How many times have you been so adamant about a particular opinion, and then someone has convinced you of thinking in a different way, and then you let go of that opinion? You change your mind, you evolve your thinking. So even your thoughts are temporary. Anything that can be created and destroyed, know that it cannot give you permanent happiness. And what we do with these things is we almost worship them. And I put myself in the same category. I'm the same as everyone else. I like digital things, and I'm always looking at the latest technology. And maybe it's a new camera or a new laptop, and I will be obsessing about it for weeks and months, looking at the reviews, waiting for the price to go on, go down, looking at other people, how they've used it, and then I realize there's a better model, let me get that one. And then for weeks and weeks and weeks, I'm obsessing about it. You know another word for that? It's called worship. I wake up in the morning and I start worshipping this thing, this laptop that I haven't even bought yet. And I start looking, has the price gone down today? Maybe I'll buy it today. Oh, the sale is coming up next week. We're worshipping these things. And Gurubani specifically tells you anything that can be created and destroyed is not worthy of your worship. There's something better. And the reason we do it, why do I obsess over that new piece of technology that I haven't even bought yet? Why? Because I think I'll be happy. And this is where I try and explain to my children, this is not just about you kids. We're all doing the same thing. We don't actually grow up from that mentality. Just the things that we obsess about, the things that we worship change. If you're single, you might be worshipping a person that you want to get married to, or you want to have a new partner in your life. If you're married, you might be desiring that we haven't got any children, let's have some children. So you start worshipping that idea. You start obsessing over that idea. If you can't have children, you are completely distraught. Because why? All of the happiness is in those children that you haven't even been able to conceive yet. When you have children, then you can't wait for the next child. When you have all the children, then you can't wait for them to grow up so you don't have to change their nappies. When they grow up, you can't wait for them to get married, because you will only be happy when your child is married. When does the obsession stop? And all of this is based around this micro story called me. the delusion that the whole story is just about me. This tiny little wave in an everlasting ocean of endless time and space. So, what's the new year going to bring? Are you going to worship some other new obsession? Understand that at the very root of you there is an emptiness. And spend some time acknowledging that emptiness. It's like a hunger, it's a little bit like a discomfort. You know what I mean? There is an emptiness inside all of us right now that says, I can't wait for the next thing because my happiness is not here right now. It's in the next moment. Gurubani calls this word dukh. Gurubani says that the whole world is dukhi. The Guru walks around, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Tan Baba Nanak walks around the whole world and he says, where am I looking where I can find happiness? He says, everyone is diseased with this dukh. Everyone is suffering. And we're all in that same dilemma. And yet, you know what we do? We don't understand that the problem and the solution is right in front of us. Guruji turns everything upside down. What do? We come to the Guru with our problems, with our dukh. And we say, Guruji, get rid of this dukh. And we do ardas and we do akhand parts. And we say, get rid of these problems. Why? Because happiness isn't with me right now. Happiness will only come when this dukh goes away. It's like me not having that laptop. That's a dukh. That's a pain that I'm feeling. That's why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I have a pain inside me. But what does Guru say? Guru says that dukh is the solution. Dukh daru. Said, don't ask for happiness. Sukh rog paya. Your pain is a door, and you need to walk through that door. Because if you keep asking for happiness, let's say you get that laptop, let's say you get that life partner, let's say you get the next happiness that you're waiting for, then what? Ja sukh tam na hoy. There is no meditation, there is no worship. There is no pleasure in sukh. Let me repeat that. There is no pleasure in sukh. There is no happiness in chasing after happiness. So we need to understand that our very approach, what we think of being a good Sikh is to come to the Guru and to bow down to the Guru and say, Guruji, get rid of my problems. What we think this is Sikhi isn't the Sikhi that the Guru is trying to make us understand. The Guruji wants you to snap out of this idea that this is about you, that this story is all about you. Guru Sahib wants you to elevate your thinking and recognize the big picture. This has nothing to do with you. Your body was born, don't take any ownership of it. It's not yours. Who created this body? Just think for a moment, this thing that you call me, I can only take ownership of it if I've had some say in making it. You didn't even choose if you're going to be a man or a woman. And then you call this me? This isn't me. This is you. This is you. But the very way that we think is that, Guruji, I am here and I've got all of these problems in my life. And somehow you're going to take these problems away if I just keep asking. We were so fortunate today to be blessed with a Hukamnama that said, Jo mange Thakur apne te soi soi deva. And we've been fooled into thinking that the question is about what can I ask for because my Guru will give me everything. We've been fooled into thinking that this is what the Guru is trying to tell you. Even if we look at the spellings of these words, mange is not mango. Guruji is saying is whatever I ask for happens. Why? Because I'm already in this state of connectedness. The words that come out of my mouth are no longer my words, they are the words of the divine. That is when whatever comes out of my mouth will happen. Not jo mango, whatever you ask for you will get. If that was true, we'd all be lottery winners by now. Why haven't we all won the lottery? Most of us have had that ardas, haven't we? Maharaj, if I just became a millionaire, look, you give it to that person. He doesn't even look like he deserves it. He's not even a good person. Give it to me. Then I'll be able to do your meditation. Then I'll be able to do your bandagi. Then I will be able to do your kirtan. Then I'll have time to do your nityanem. Just make me a millionaire. What's the big deal? This is the kind of mentality that we've gone into, and we think that this is Gurmat. So very few people are lucky enough to have snapped out of this way of thinking. And Satsangaji, we have access to those people. We have Guru Granth Sahib Ji, the greatest, most elevated thinking we have. They have written their words with their own hands. They have spoken the Bani with their own mouth. We are so fortunate, but we have to spend time to understand that the Gurubani is not talking about you having some very materialistic happy life. Guru Nanak Dev Ji tells us very clearly, Jab asa andesa tabhi kyo kar ek kahe. As long as you have desire, you will have anxiety. What is anxiety? A worry that I'm not going to get what I want. As long as you have a desire, you will have anxiety. Kyo kar ek hai? Then how will you be able to chant the one? Asa bhitar rahe nirasa, to Nanak ek milai. I started by asking the question, what does this mean? Gobind milan ki e teri bariya. This is your chance to meet the one. Guruji says, Asa Peter Rahe Nirasa. If within a world of desires, in the world of temptations, you remain desireless, To Nanak Ek Milai, that is when you meet the one. You meet the one when you understand this is no longer about me, this is about you. So, today I'm sure a lot of us would have come to the Gurdwara with some ardas, maybe for prosperity, for good health, for long life. But let this new year have a new focus, that we lose ourselves and we recognize the greatest story of all, the story of life. So I hope in this very short time I've been able to give you an indicator of the sorts of lessons that Gurubani is trying to teach us. And there is a charity that I work for now full time. I left my successful work in IT last year when I started here, being invited. In 2013 I was invited to Shepherd's Bush Gurdwara to sit on this very stage, to do some talk, some katha, a series of katha on the deeply spiritual message. Those recordings were put online in 2013 under the channel Nanak Naam on YouTube. And over time, the Sangat was so yearning for this message. The Sangat approached me and they said, can you leave your job? We want you to do this full time. So about a year and a half ago, I left my full-time work in IT to do this full-time. And this is now a set-up charity. You can find out more about this sort of message on nanaknaam.org or the YouTube channel Nanak Naam. And please, Sat Sangat Ji, spend any time you can accessing Gurubani. Do not be afraid of your Guru. Do not keep a distance between you and the Guru. The Guru truly is the door of all happiness and salvation. And I'll leave you with one final quote from Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Guruji talks about the new year, and he talks about years of your life. He says, "Je so varya jeevan khan, khasam pachane so din parwan." It isn't about having a lucky new year or a lucky end of New Year's celebration, that you put all your hopes into this one day and you do one ardas and all of next year will be great for you. Even if you live for 100 years and you eat happily, Guruji says, "Khasam pachane so din parwan." The day you recognize that this isn't about you, this is about the one, that day is the real special day and auspicious day. So please forgive me for my mistakes. Bhulna chuka di khima. Waheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji ki Fateh. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you benefited from that. If you'd like to help us create more spiritual content, then head over to our website nanaknaam.org/donate and think about setting up a regular monthly donation. We're a 100% non-profit organization, so all the donations that you give us go directly into the charity and that help us to create and share Gurmat spiritual wisdom.